but still no turnover. Shot clock at 5.
June 2022. The confetti is falling in San Francisco. Juan Toscano-Anderson is holding the Larry O'Brien Trophy, screaming at the sky. He just became the first player of Mexican descent to win an NBA title with the Golden State Warriors. From the outside, he looks like he's on top of the world, but inside, he's exhaling. While his teammates were planning luxury vacations, JTA was fighting off a nightmare that had haunted him for 7 years. He wasn't afraid of losing a game. He was terrified of being homeless. Again, because before the fame, he spent 3 separate stints with nowhere to live while playing professional basketball. This story isn't about the ring. It's about the brutal economics of the minor leagues and the financial trauma that never really leaves you. To understand why a millionaire champion still checks his bank account like he's broke, you have to look at the math of the minor leagues. We see the NBA lifestyle on TV, private jets, 5-star hotels, custom suits. The G League is the exact opposite. It's 6 a.m. commercial flights and coach seats that don't fit your legs. It's cheap hotels in small towns. And the pay? It's criminal. Before the salary bumps in 2020, a standard G League contract paid between $26,000, not a month, for the entire season. Do the math. You're a professional athlete. You need 5,000 calories a day just to maintain your weight. You need gym access, recovery tools, and a place to live in some of the most expensive cities in America. Try paying rent in Santa Cruz or Los Angeles on roughly $2,500 a month after taxes. It's impossible. So JTA did what he had to do. He went overseas. He played in the top league in Mexico. He played in Venezuela. He was grinding for bigger checks, trying to leverage his talent into a livable wage. But he found chaos instead. Between 2015 and 2019, the bottom fell out 3 separate times. He didn't just run out of cash, he ran out of shelter. We're talking about a grown man, an elite athlete, sleeping in his car. He was crashing on friends' floors because he couldn't afford a motel room. He later admitted that those nights changed him forever. When you sleep in a car, you don't really sleep. You wait for the sun to come up. You wonder if the police are going to knock on the window. You wonder if you'll ever be stable. This experience rewires your brain. When you have $20 to your name, you don't dream of investment portfolios or compound interest. You dream of survival. You hold on to every dollar because you know exactly how fast it disappears. Most financial advice tells you to make your money work for you. But when you've been homeless, you don't want your money to work. You want it to sit there. You want to see it. You want to touch it. You become terrified that one bad game, one sprained ankle, or one cut from the roster will send you back to that car. That fear became his engine. It wasn't about getting rich. It was about never feeling that helpless again. That fear doesn't vanish when the direct deposit hits. It buries itself deep in your psyche. JTA wasn't playing for glory anymore. He was playing for survival. He needed a break. And in 2020, the Golden State Warriors finally called. But as he walked into the locker room, the financial anxiety didn't just disappear. The breakthrough moment didn't look like a movie scene. It looked like a standard PDF document sent via email. During the COVID-shortened season, JTA finally signed a 2-way contract with the Golden State Warriors. To the average person, the headline number was staggering. A prorated salary of approximately $449,000. For a guy who had been scraping by on 5 figures a year, this should have been the moment the champagne popped. But JTA didn't celebrate. He panicked. He looked at that number and didn't see wealth. He saw a math problem that didn't add up to security. Here is the net reality that agents often forget to mention to rookies. That $449,000 is a mirage. Before a single dollar hit his checking account, the system took its cut. First, the federal government took its standard 37%. Then came the Sunshine Tax, California's state income tax, which slices off another 13.3%, the highest in the nation for millionaires. Then his agent took their standard 4% commission, and we haven't even touched the jock tax, the specific income tax athletes must pay to every single state they play an away game in. By the time the direct deposit actually landed, nearly 50% of his gross income had vanished into thin air. He wasn't clearing $500,000. He was clearing barely enough to buy a modest house in the Bay Area if he spent every single cent, but he couldn't spend. The trauma of sleeping in cars had installed a permanent governor on his spending habits. while his peers were leasing luxury SUVs and buying watches that cost as much as a Honda Civic. JTA entered a phase of extreme hoarding. He later admitted that during that first year, he was paralyzed by the fear that the money would simply stop coming. He operated in survival mode, treating his MBA salary like it was a temporary error that the bank might correct at any moment. This scarcity mindset didn't break even when the real money arrived. In May 2021, the Warriors converted his contract to a standard NBA deal worth approximately $2.6 million over 2 years. On paper, Juan Toscano-Anderson was now a multimillionaire. In reality, he was still the guy worried about where he would sleep if the team cut him tomorrow. It created a bizarre internal conflict. His bank account status said wealthy, but his mental operating system still read homeless. He refused to let the money leave his account because seeing that balance drop, even for legitimate investments, triggered the same panic he felt when he had nothing. He was rich in capital but poor in confidence, trapped in a defensive crouch that prevented him from growing the wealth he had fought so hard to earn. It took a literal ring to break the cycle. In 2022, JTA became the first player of Mexican descent to win an NBA championship. That title did more than just validate his basketball skills, it unlocked a new tier of business leverage. Suddenly, he wasn't just a role player, he was a cultural icon. He had the Mexican flag draped over his shoulders at the parade. Morals of him went up in Oakland and Mexico City. He realized that his value to the league wasn't just his defense, it was his authentic connection to a massive, underserved Latino market. This realization coincided with a profound shift in his financial philosophy. He stopped looking at his dollars as survivors huddling in a bunker and started seeing them as employees. He calls this the paper soldier's philosophy. In a candid interview, he explained the switch. How can you go get me more money? He realized that by hoarding cash out of fear, he was letting inflation eat his hard-earned security. He had to send his soldiers out to fight for him through investments, real estate, and equity. He moved from fear-based saving to investment-based growth, leveraging his championship status to secure partnerships, including custom Nike colorways that celebrated his heritage. This maturity came just in time because the NBA business is ruthless even to champions. After the title run, the Warriors couldn't afford to keep him. He declined a qualifying offer and signed a veteran minimum deal with the Los Angeles Lakers for about $1.9 million. To an outsider, that sounds like a pay cut. To JTA, it was a calculated move. He understood that in the modern NBA, volatility is the only constant. He wasn't chasing the max contract anymore. He was chasing longevity and leverage. He knew that a $1.9 million contract in Los Angeles, combined with his new investment strategy, was worth more than a larger contract in a smaller market, where his paper soldiers couldn't work as hard. However, the journey wasn't without regret. JTA has been open about the cost of his early financial literacy gap. He admits that he wishes he had started investing earlier, instead of letting fear paralyze his capital during those first crucial years. He lost out on years of compound interest because he was too scared to trust the process. But that's the price of his education. His story proves that the biggest battle for an athlete isn't guarding the MVP on the court. It's conquering the poverty trauma in your own mind that tells you you don't belong there. Juan Toscano-Anderson flips the script on the broke athlete narrative. He isn't broke, not because he makes the most money, but because he never forgot what it felt like to have absolutely nothing. His journey proves that true financial freedom doesn't come from the size of the check. It comes from the discipline to manage it when the spotlight fades. If you want to understand the money and mindset behind the world's biggest athletes, subscribe to Revenue Racers now.